Hey everybody, I'm here once again to give you a piece of advice that nobody asked for, but I do think is helpful and something I wanted to share. And I'm joined once again as well by the invisible ghost who agrees with everything I say and only I can see him, sitting in the chair right here. Say hello. Now, this might be the most cookie cutter piece of advice that some of you have ever heard, but I genuinely know that a lot of people in my audience and a lot of people in general don't take it seriously. And it's one thing that I think can really help improve your life. Now, it's not medical advice. I legally cannot give medical advice in the United States, so I can't guarantee that this will help everybody or that it will be useful for everybody. The same way I can't prescribe you medicine, but it is something that I think in general just helps the human body. And it's two things that I've been doing a lot more of recently that have really helped with my depression, my anxiety, putting things in perspective. I got hair on my hand from Jill, and understanding like that there are some things out of my control, but the things that are within my control that I can improve then help with the scope of everything else. And one of those things is just going outside. Now, this is going to sound ridiculous to some of you. There's probably some of you in this audience who spend your entire day outside in the sun. You move around all the time, you spend a lot of time outside, you're like, okay, well, yeah, of course, I'm already outside and I'm still miserable. Something I've noticed is that for me, I have spent a lot of my life indoors. A lot of my jobs have been indoors, whether it was when I was doing catering and serving, with restaurants, when I was doing movie theater work, when I was doing college work, all my courses were indoors. When I was teaching, it was all indoors. Most of our jobs now, I would say, are indoors. A lot of them are sedentary, too, which is even worse, where you sit at a desk and don't actually really move around. And then you eat garbage food. So all of these things kind of compile, right? I mean, the life of a nerdy guy who grew up playing games like ranging from Final Fantasy to Call of Duty, I have spent a lot of my time, whether it's working or having fun, sitting inside. Now, I have been trying to go outside for a minimum of like 30 minutes a day now. And to some people, they're like, okay, well, that's nothing. What are you doing all day? But I'm saying like between the time sleeping, eating, working, all that stuff, like actually just making sure to spend 30 minutes outside in the sunlight has done so much for me in terms of just my mental health and in terms of feeling better. And the reason I start with that for you guys, for like something that I think people can do to feel better, is because I know a lot of times in my videos when I talk about something serious, like I talk about why is the world the way it is right now, or why is depression so high, you know, all these things. When we get to real talks, a lot of you guys have the same issues I do. A lot of you have feelings of things being out of your control. Maybe you feel screwed over by circumstance. Like for me, I have at least 2 physical disabilities that are non-visible. So like fibromyalgia, for example, I get shitting pains, stabbing pains in different places. Sometimes they make me almost fall down. Lots of stuff like that, nerve pain all the time. I have a rare disorder called erythromyalgia, and I have quite a few other things that I'm not even going to get into, which are all non-visible. So like for me, I deal with a lot of physical stuff that people don't even always necessarily see, especially for a man my size who looks 6'5", really strong, and I am pretty strong just in general, but I have to deal with those things, right? I know there's a lot of you out there who are in worse situations than me. There's people, or I should say very different situations, because some of you don't even mind your situation. But there's people who like, where I will have pains, like I'll be walking and almost fall down. There's people who can't even walk. You know, like they have to get around using a mobility scooter or a wheelchair or whatever. I'm not here to shit on you regardless of what your circumstance is. I mean, everybody has a different one. But I think just getting out in the sun for a little bit of time is something that has really, really helped me, that I heard growing up, and I always thought was absolute nonsense. Like, I always thought, what's the difference going to be? I'm still going to be miserable. There's still going to be bad stuff going on, whether I'm inside or outside, and I didn't take it seriously. But that vitamin D deficiency that I think I had been suffering from, even though I was taking vitamin D supplements as well, like that actual natural vitamin D coming into my skin and in my life it's something that has changed. It's made everything seem less grim, even on my worst days. And so it's something I encourage people to do. But there's a second thing I encourage people to do. I'm looking at the time because I don't want to bore everybody, but I also don't want to breeze through this and not give the topic the time of day that I think it deserves. Something else I noticed growing up was obviously exercise. And most people do not make exercise fun. You know, for me, making exercise fun growing up, like when I was in high school, before my pain got as bad as it did, it was things like going on runs and listening to podcasts I liked, like the Super Best Friends back before they didn't like each other anymore. Things like that, or listening to music that I enjoyed. You know, like that was me taking workouts and making them fun, adding something to it that I enjoyed. And I think a lot of people are very bad at this. Workouts are seen as something that has to be miserable, that has to be not fun, it has to be not natural, like you have to go to the gym, you have to pound away at something. There is a way to do that. You absolutely can exercise that way, and there's nothing wrong with it. But there's also natural ways to exercise in your daily life that really help and go into the first thing that I was talking about. And one of them I found is going on walks. You know, and even transitioning from walks to runs, which I'm starting to try to do, those things are really helpful for me. And I started taking it more seriously, well, a couple times in my life. The first time was, I would say, when I was in early high school, where I was kind of finding, oh, I'm actually more fit now, so these things are more fun. I'm not just the fat, stupid kid. Like, it's actually fun to play soccer with these people. It's actually fun, you know, to go around and play baseball. I still am not very good, but I'm in better shape so I can. I think a lot of people, especially in the nerd space, they've been constantly put down by other people. And I think that, like, the divide probably between nerd and jock is not what it used to be. Like, even, like, the sporty jock kids will play, like, Call of Duty and NBA and stuff like that, right? When I was a kid, you gotta remember, I'm 30, okay? So to some of you, I'm unk already, all right? I'm over the hill. My life's over. But for me, when I was a kid, if you played video games, if you liked anime, if you liked any of this shit, you were getting pushed into a locker, okay? One of the reasons my arm is so fucked up was because I got bullied. And I got my arm slammed in a locker when I was a kid. You know, you were ostracized. And I don't mean like now. Like, there are anime kids that get ostracized now because they'll do really, really socially out of the norm things. Like, I'm not here to pick on anybody, but like, there's kids who like anime, and then there's a kid who will, like, come to school in a full frog get-up, and people will be like, what the fuck are you doing? You can live your life however you want, okay? And when you get to be an adult, you cosplay, and people think you're awesome. But when you're a kid, people are looking for something. People are looking for something to kind of pick on you for. So, when I was a kid, giving them ammunition to pick on you for was the hardest thing to avoid. You listen to the wrong music, you even like anything nerdy, anything at all, okay? You are a nerd and you are getting relentlessly bullied. So I think for a lot of people my age, at least, and above my age, maybe down into people in the mid-20s, because I think it's gotten better since then, because I was a teacher for a while, and I noticed that this was something way less than when I was a kid. But I think a lot of people in that nerdy space, especially around my age, were constantly put down. Like, oh, you suck at sports, you're bad at this, why don't you go back to playing some lame RPG, you idiot? You know, that kind of attitude. And so I think a lot of them didn't gravitate towards physical activity. It was seen as something bad. It was seen as something that these, how do I put it? Like, that the smart kids stayed indoors and the nerdy kids stayed indoors. And there was a Venn diagram crossover of them. That just kind of looks like balls. But they weren't the same. And then, like, the dumb jocks who, like, ruled the school went outside and they played the games and they got all the girls and all that shit. You know, it's like the stereotype. I don't really think it's as much that way anymore. I think there's a lot more crossover and acceptance, even though bullying still sucks in schools. But I think that those people grew up and moved into a sedentary lifestyle because they had this aversion to working out, to doing physical activities, to doing these kinds of things, because they were kind of associated with these people who are just terrible to you. and you were kind of always put down and told you sucked at them. And where I started noticing that I liked these things was in high school when I got in better shape, but also, you know, seeing other people in the more nerdy space make those things seem okay, which is one reason why I wanted to talk about this stuff, because I do think there's some people who still hate themselves, have had a really bad upbringing, and then the things that are in their control, like cleaning your room, organizing your spaces to feel better, going outside, doing physical activity, those things seem not appealing. So then the things that can help elevate your spirit and can help your physical body and your mind a little bit, you're not doing because you're miserable. But then it feeds into a cycle where you're more miserable because you're not doing those things. Does that make sense? I didn't write down a script or anything for this. And I started noticing people like Markiplier, you know, people like PewDiePie, you know, kind of working out. I wouldn't say they were like doing full gym videos or anything, but kind of making it seem like, hey, look, I'm a nerd and I'm doing this stuff. You know, like that you didn't have to be a chubby nerd. And I'm not in the best shape ever of my life either. Like, I'm still working on it a lot, but the last few weeks I've been going out on walks. I've been going out swimming, like in lakes. I've been trying to walk around stores more, you know, like, and actually get exercise instead of just buying crap online. And I've noticed that these things, even though my physical circumstances have not improved at all, my money situation has not changed, my depression hasn't magically gone away, my physical disabilities haven't gone away, but I would say in some ways they've improved a little bit because of circulation of blood and things like that. I've noticed that even though those things haven't changed, the perspective that I view them in is different. It doesn't seem quite as bad. It takes the edge off of those things because I'm doing things within my scope that I can control. I'm exerting control over things in my life that I can manage. And that's kind of where we come to the final thing, which I'm not very good at. You can probably see from my office. But it's something that I read. Now, people are going to be mad about this. I don't even have to share this piece of information, but I will. It's something I never thought of until years ago when I read 12 Rules for Life by Jordan Peterson. Now, there's things Dr. Jordan Peterson has said in the years since then that I do not agree with. And there's things he said that I do, just like most speakers and most of these figureheads. But that book mainly is about changing things in your life that you can control. You know, managing control over the things that you can do. It's honestly more about motivation. It's not really politically motivated or anything like that. And one of the big things that was talked about in that book that really stuck with me was the idea of cleaning your room. So it was this idea of, if you can't manage your own space at all, you know, like you have no control over your own space. I say as I have a empty chair and a vacuum cleaner in the background, but at least that shows I'm trying to be cleanly. If you can't manage your own space, you can't exert control over your own bedroom or your own office or your own anything, and everything is cluttered. You live in a mess. That mess does actually affect your mind. Now, that doesn't mean every room in your house has to be spotless. It doesn't mean that you can't collect things or you have to ditch all your physical possessions like Paul the Apostle or anything like that. What it means, though, and it is, I genuinely truly believe true, is that you are going to have so many problems in life controlling things like that are outside of your scope. You go to try to date someone and they do something that's awful to you. You go to work and your boss screams at you, and maybe it's not even your fault. Maybe he's just having a bad day. You go out and you're driving perfectly fine and someone rear ends you, right? Those are all going to be things out of your control, possibly entirely out of your control. And so you need to manage what you can control in your life. Those are things like physical fitness. Those are things like going outside, but especially things like managing your space, cleaning your room, those things. I've noticed that when I have a better space, my headspace does improve. It doesn't fix these things, by the way. I'm not here to give I am here to give unasked for advice, but if you stayed to this point, I suppose you did ask. I'm not here to tell you that like these things fix everything, but just to say that organization is something that I think humans inherently long for, bringing order to chaos. It's one reason why we love stories, like stories where the hero, it also mixes into like justice versus evil, but like where a hero will bring order to chaos, you know, someone like Batman versus the Joker, and like how those two interact and collide. I think that in our own lives, we long for that. And we long for control. We wish we could control certain things with other people that we can't. And this is something you can actively control that will affect, in my opinion, it affected my headspace a lot. And then the idea of that too is, if you're not able to do that, like if you don't even have the self-control or the motivation, not longing, I guess I should say, there's like a word for it. You probably, people at home are screaming it. Basically, like where you really want to have restraint, where you don't want to live like a slob, right? Discipline is the word. The military really teaches you this. I had friends in the military where your boots weren't shined, and the sergeant would come in and trash your whole room and make you clean it up. You know, things like that. There are certainly organizations that put this into people in ways that are a little over the top to me, but they work. And I think a lot of us don't get that kind of discipline, right? That's the kind of discipline that I think sometimes parents are trying to instill in people when they say clean your room. And kids think it's this awful chore. But it really is something where, as you get older, if you don't have the discipline to do that, how are you going to go out into the world and try to affect anything? I mean, you can't even keep your own space clean. You can't even keep your own ducks in a row. You can't even keep your own life in order. How are you going to go out there and try to help anyone else? How are you going to go out there and try to provide anything for anyone else? How are you going to provide a meaningful relationship with other people? Now, again, this is not to say that you can't be like a writer and have a messy desk or a messy art room and you're an artist. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying, like, if your physical spaces around you are all trashed and you can't even take care of what is your managerial responsibility to manage in your own personal life, it is going to be so much harder to go out into the world and try to affect other things that aren't necessarily even your responsibility that you might want to affect, whether it be other people, projects, work, whatever, because in the back of your head, you are a mess. And I think these things are things that, to some people, they are just common sense. Like, they're gonna be like, oh, I knew all this, you're an idiot, why are you bringing this up? For me, I make a video like this, one, to vocalize what I want to do in my own life. It actually helps me to say these things out loud. But two, because if this helps one person have a better life, that makes me happy. You know, I'm not going to try to like pretend to be a martyr here or make things about money, but like videos like this are not popular for me. They don't do super well. A lot of people don't like talking about real things. But to me, whenever I make a video like this, I know there's like 1 to 5 people that this kind of thing clicks with, and it can help them be happier. And for me, that's good enough. Because like finding these things at this point in my life at 30 and not finding them before this point in my life, I hope there's somebody out there who's 15 who starts living by these kinds of things. And it doesn't mean giving up, you know, a messy space. You can have a messy space. That's fine. You know, my office is not the cleanest thing ever. And my wife's office downstairs where she does her art, it's a mess, but our other rooms are more cleanly. You know, it's like, it's not, you don't have to be an extremist, okay? And nobody's expecting you to be a vacuum cleaner terrorist here. But being moderate and understanding those things. Same with going outside. It doesn't mean you have to spend 12 hours outside and bake yourself in the sun. It just means trying to spend half an hour outside. You know, if you're at a job that you need to be inside all the time, things like that. It really can help you. Working out, you don't need to be Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. You don't have to do 3-hour workouts a day. Nobody's asking that or demanding that of you, and nobody's saying skip break days and just tear your muscles up until you're, you know, crippling yourself. No one's saying that. Go from 0 to a 30-mile run. Nobody's arguing to be extreme. But just incorporating some of these things into your life, I think, can make a huge difference in ways that I never believed when people told me that it could. So I don't know, maybe you won't believe it either, but that's my video. It was something I wanted to talk about. Real quick, I do want to say that there are new things up on cosmobunny.shop. We had the economy sucks, so we had a convention that was not the best. We made a lot of stuff for it. A lot of it did not sell. So if you're interested, discount code DJAY123, 10% off your first purchase over there. Coasters, keychains, trays, and more, all kinds of one-of-a-kind stuff made out of repurposed paper from damaged books. Lots of stuff there. If you like talks like this, I have talks like this on my other channel, Degenerate Plays. That is my more podcast style Let's Play channel. Just did a big update on that channel the other day, so that's in the description. We got Magical Jill, where we do more anime-focused videos, things like that. And my JayRPG channel, where I do more role-playing game-focused videos. So anyway, let me know what you think in the comments down below. For all I know, this will get pushed to no one, and like 5 people will see it. But maybe one of those 5 people will go on to have, I don't know, a happier year because of it. And I truly hope so. Hope you have a fantastic day. And as always, everyone, stay shui.